This right here is one of the stakes that holds up my hot tent. And this is my hot tent that I really like, but we have a storm coming, so we need to fix some problems. So here's my problem. Just last week we had a storm come and there's enough wind that it blew over my hot tent. And so that is not a good thing. And what happened was some of these stakes, if they're put in the right way and they're angled out, they did pretty well, but they start to pull, and if you get enough wind, it pulled it right out of the ground. These stakes are tied to the side of the tent that helps pull out the wall. So they worked pretty well. But if we look closer at the other stakes, these green stakes that hold up the side of the tent actually don't have a lot of connection to the stake, and then they will slide off, which knocks over the tent. There's only one pole in the middle that's holding the tent up. I have made modifications to these stakes partly to make it easier. I use a carabiner that's tied to the stake, and then I can clip it to the strap of the tent, and that keeps the stake on. So what I'm gonna do today is I'm gonna go over different types of stakes that I have used in the past, and we're going to put them on this tent, and hopefully when this storm comes tonight, I have no problems with my tent falling over. It's fell over probably twice in the 3 years I've had it when I have a big storm. I haven't been camping in it when there's a big storm. However, that's not something I want to deal with anymore. Over the years, I've collected many different types of tent stakes. Today, I'm going to show you some of the ones that I've accumulated. Some of them are pretty simple. Some of them are a lot more durable and strong and heavy. So the first one we're going to use is just this basic green one. This is what came with my OneTigris hot tent, and it actually works pretty well. It's very light. I'm not too worried about the weight of my stakes when I use this tent because I'm usually just car camping. I haven't taken the hot tent camping because it's just too much gear. So it's usually a car camping thing up to the mountains, or right now I have it set up in my backyard. But the nice green one it came with, it's not too long. Very nice sharp end. When you're pushing it into the ground, it can hurt the back of your hand if you're just doing it this way. But if you step on it, usually you can get into the ground. But if you're hot tent camping, the ground can be a little bit frozen. So I've bent a few of them, especially right here at the tip, and it's broke off there. The other one I have is one that I purchased off of Amazon, and this is basically the same thing, but as you can see, it's a little bit longer. So this came with the tent. This is Coghlans or Coughlins, I'm not exactly sure how you pronounce it. So I've picked up a bunch of these when I have extra ones, and I just like them that they're a little bit longer. If you put them at an angle and the tent is pulling it this way, you know, it'll stay in pretty well. Like I showed you on the tent over there, I have made a few modifications where I just have some carabiners, these are cheap ones, and I just put them on the end of here. Like I said, I'm not worried about weight, but then on the strap on the tent, I can just connect it right to the strap. And it just makes it simpler for me and my kids to set up. So that works pretty well. Another basic tent stake is just usually aluminum, little wires that are bent, and you put these in, and it has a nice hook to hold the straps of the tent. So these work pretty well, and I haven't had any issues with them. These work well if you're at like a state park and you have like a gravel area that you have to put your tent on, and these will usually fit. They will pull out pretty easily, but not too big of a deal. Now let's move into some of the more solid options. These are basically nails, and I know a lot of people have used these, that you hammer into the ground. One nice thing about these is they have a glow-in-the-dark end on here, and you know, they'll last a few hours before they completely go away. Enough as you're getting ready to go to bed, you'll see them, but these are very strong. If you put these into your ground, you're not gonna have any issues. You usually gotta hammer them in or use the back of a hatchet, which you're not really supposed to use the back of a hatchet, but we do anyways. And so these work pretty well. So I like these, we take these a lot. Last year we went up to the mountains and we were gonna take the hot tent, and I knew the area up there was really hard dirt to get into. So we picked up some of these orange ones, and these are a spiral type that you screw into the ground. And these are pretty nice. They actually, once you get them into the ground, they're really solid. However, they're hard to screw into the ground. There's not a lot of area to grab. You can, I guess, probably do this. I never thought of that. And then you could leverage it down if you have a stick or some sort of other stake to put in, so that would make it a lot easier. After that trip, we went all in and we bought these completely solid metal ones that have basically an auger on the end, and these use a drill and a drill bit to go into the ground. So they come with this drill bit. It actually comes in this nice bag of a whole bunch of them. They are anchors. I think these are also made for like bounce houses and awnings and anything that you really don't want to move. So you can use these for more than just tent. So these are pretty good to use year round actually, but you screw these into the ground and they are solid. And I'm gonna try to use a bunch of these to put around my hot tent because I don't want it falling over. So these are the different types of tent stakes that I have. It's hard to say which one's the best because it depends on what you're using it for, which is always the worst answer, I know. But if you want one that does not weigh a lot, these work pretty well. They're gonna get you through most situations. Even if you have a normal tent, I think these work well. But the hot tent, I only have one pole in the middle, like I said, and it's a teepee all the way around. And so it does move, and then these came out. So I would prefer the longer ones. But like I said, today we're gonna go all in and we're gonna use these screw-in tent stakes and see how well it works. So let's go put these in the ground. So as you can see over time, when the wind blows the tent, these are getting pulled out. So these are the ones that we're going to replace. So these stakes come with a little hook on the end. I'm still gonna use the carabiner, but I'm going to really pull out this tent and make sure that it's nice and tight. And then I can come out with my last stake and we'll pull it out like that. So we wanna make it so this tent is not moving around like this. So it's pretty simple. I'm gonna put this all the way out here. Let's put it in the ground. And I'm gonna use my carabiner. We're gonna tighten it in there. And then now I will pull this out. And this is what makes room on the inside of the tent. So let's move around and do the rest. Let's take this one out and we'll put another one in. And then I'll just finish the rest on my own. All right, as you see, the wind is blowing this one around. So I've got another stake. We're just going to drill it in. If you're gonna have these type of stakes, you're gonna have to have a drill. So that's one extra thing you have to have with you. Like I said, I'm gonna use a carabiner. We're just going to put it in and it's nice and tight, good enough. And then I'm gonna pull these stakes out and that'll tighten up the back. See, it hurts if I push my hand in, so I could use my feet, get it in there nice and strong. So on this side, I'm using the stake that you hammer in, and it's in there pretty tight. I don't think that's going anywhere. The only thing that could happen is this strap could slip off, but it should be fine. And then I've got one more just normal green stake over there. I'm gonna have to come over and bend it back. But as you can see, it kind of gets pulled forward. So what I need to do is make sure it's angled backwards, and I can't push down because it hurts my hand. So I need to get a hammer, put that one into the ground. And I have one more right here, which is a normal stake, and this is by the door. And this is one of the long orange ones that I'm using. Maybe bent a little bit over time, so something to think about. But when I'm using these in the ground, a hammer is what you need to push these in. So this is a Rock Fortress tent by OneTigris. But now that I've added my extra strong stakes all around the edge, it is definitely a Rock Fortress, and I don't think it's gonna go anywhere in these storms tonight. It's a great tent. We have a Winnerwell Medium View stove on the inside, and if you put enough wood in it, it can be 12 degrees outside and it can be 70 degrees inside the tent. The kids absolutely love it. We've been sleeping out here for the last few months. It's got these guidelines right here which hold the wall of the tent. We'll come on the inside and I'll show you how much room is in here. But as you can see, there's quite a bit of room. We've got a pile of wood. We've got one kid's sleeping bag, my sleeping bag over here, and the other kid's sleeping bag over here right now because he's starting to get pretty good and he can control the fire at night and he really likes that. And we have cots because you want to get off the ground. And like I said, it has one pole right here in the middle, and this is what holds the tent up. So you have to have it pretty well evenly staked around the edge so that you can make sure that this tent does not fall in a rainstorm. So usually if you're using this in the winter, you're not going to get thunderstorms. We are not going to sleep out here tonight, but I am just testing it during the storm to see how well it works. So we're going to close it all up and we will see you tomorrow after the storm. And to no surprise, these stakes held. As you saw, there was a little bit of wind last night and it definitely did rain. Probably wasn't as bad as I was expecting. But you could see the wind move the tent around and it didn't go anywhere. So it did great. And on the inside, it did get a little bit wet, but that shows you why you want to have a cot when you're using a hot tent. We have camped one time and it did rain, but we didn't get any water on the inside. And so there's a little bit of water in there, but not too much. If I was camping, it would not have been a problem. I'm also in a low spot, so it could have just kind of run through the bottom. So if you're going to hot tent, I think a cot is really recommended to keep you off the ground, especially because there's no base. And thank you everybody for watching.